the backlash that you receive, not just from people that might be triggered by the subject, but also the corporations that, are not happy with the message that you're bringing forward. Can you speak to that a little bit about your journey with all of
Yeah,
that?
like the what and the why. Like what
Yeah.
is what is it and why is it there?
Well, a lot of it is money. Let's sum it up. What the Health, you really saw that. After What the Health, there was a big campaign, and that was like, we need to do something about this film. And then one of the biggest articles that was put out was by this lady, Nina Teschholz, and she has ties to the animal agriculture industry, and putting certain books out and putting something where it tries to disprove certain facts of the film. But I mean, it's one of those. It's difficult when you're going up to $1 billion industry or a $1 trillion industry, trying to do a marketing campaign to take this down, and then what people will then say is like, "Oh, I found this fact that wasn't true," and they don't realize that was the entire What the Health is follow the trail of the facts, not only the money but the facts, and they don't realize where this information's coming from of that. But it's I think it's a lot of money and a lot of disinformation. And I feel, on the compassionate side, my heritage, my parents grew up in Utah and Idaho. My dad grew up on a farm, and when we showed Cowspiracy there, a lot of the farmers, they liked the film, and at the end of the day, a lot of them don't want to be doing what they're doing. They're like, "Oh, support this industry." And they're like, if we had some other option, some other choice, we'd be doing it. We just don't know. We just don't know. So we're in this matrix. But it's difficult going, sometimes it's the government in collusion with the pharmaceutical industry, animal agriculture industry. We're discussing this with the religions of systemic things that have been happening for 2,000 years. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's happening now.
And it's such an interesting paradigm now too, with the era of people questioning more and more where there might be a collusion or a spiritual aspect, and that going back on, even the plant-based vegan movement. People thinking, what kind of agenda is there? Who's pushing this? And it's like, it's a funny thing, because at the end of the day, it's like, big animal ag is very provable. Where's big broccoli? There's not like a lot of money. In fact, it's proven just in subsidies alone. It's, I think, $373 billion spent in subsidies in the U.S. per year alone on animal agriculture, and only 17 million for fruit and veg.
wow.
So it's like, you see that toppling effect. It's like, there's definitely the funds and the power to be able to shift the ideology in one direction.
And you're a threat to them. As soon as you start to put a message out to people that there's other alternative ways and healthier ways to sustain yourself, to them, that's a threat to their business.
So at what point did it become, like, did you acknowledge that you were a threat as a filmmaker? Like,
Did I acknowledge it, or?
was it brought to your attention, I guess?
Well, Cowspiracy, Howard Lyman, in that film, he was the first, he was a dairy farmer that invented industrial dairy farming. He actually invented it with a few group of people. He ended up having thousands, and he has a film called that shares his story. He was called The Mad Cowboy. Film called Peaceable Kingdom. I highly recommend. It's very old, but it's beautiful film. He had this realization that this is not right, and he's in Cowspiracy, and he told us, it's in the film. He said, "Do you guys know what you're getting yourself into? You put yourself on the line, and you're putting this is serious stuff." And at that time, I was fully ignorant. I had no idea. I didn't even think about that. It just had to be done. And then in the film, Cowspiracy, we'd say we put down the cameras, and we edited that thing. But he was just like, "You got to watch out." And so we put it down. We're like, "Whoa, what are we getting ourselves into?" And then we realized, not doing this is more by not doing this is more dangerous than doing it. Like, the impact of not doing it is way greater than if something would happen to us. Like, it just, it outweighs. So
What can happen to you?
what's that?
What do you think could happen to you when you...
Or what have they done to try
Well,
to...
we show some in the film that you see. That we don't give too much away, but yeah, it followed, and I mean, I guess I'm saying some of it, but
But
some
even in the past films, like from even What the Health and Cowspiracy.
nothing like you see in this film.
In this
After
one,
What the
okay.
Health into this one, that was a whole nother level. The thing that happened is actually that same Mad Cowboy. When he was on Oprah Winfrey 20 years ago, she made the comment after she learned about the meat industry, and she said, "I don't want to eat another hamburger again." And just by her saying that, the animal agriculture industry sued her for like millions and millions and millions. And rather than just letting that go, that blew up into a worldwide thing. Oprah Winfrey's getting sued, and so it completely backfired.
It was like over 10 years lawsuit, right? It was
my
a
Over
God.
10 years
Supreme
lawsuit,
Court.
and it was one of those. After that, they realized we can't do that. So it's kind of like covertly, kind of like if you see the film Dirty Wars, which is a side thing. It's a film on Netflix. It's an incredible film, but they redesigned or how to deal with these issues of doing different underground campaigns, that coming up with these medical data, studies and all these things that you have no idea where they came from. They look like they're legitimate business, and to discredit rather than come out and confront. It's all these very underlying things. So, for example, with What the Health, that was a perfect example. We're going to do an onslaught of disinformation that people don't even know they're referring to these data points and these studies that are linked directly if you really do the research.
Yeah.
But then it came to another level of, after that film, going into this film that we show, that was
Yeah.
scary. And at the end of the day, we just feel we're protected by the good or higher forces.
Of course.
And we feel the film, while making the film, it's scary. That's why I was on zero social media, not posting, not doing anything, never talking about this film. But once the film is done, it almost feels like it protects, because then if something happens, whether they try to sue or whatever, like, look, they said that, it proves even more some of the things that they're saying. So we do feel the film protects us as well.
I think it's so interesting because it almost becomes like an information war, like when you put out truth or you're like in your pursuit of that. And I think that's what this is like, it seems like all of your films are the slow reveal of your own discovery captured and presented to an audience. And so that is, to some degree, however much people would like to debate it, that's a truth that you've discovered. Maybe it's not an ultimate truth. We're all human beings. It is what it is. But at the same time, then and I've seen it in social groups. Like I saw after What the Health came out, many social groups getting really into it. And then all it takes is like a